My wife cheated and bragged to her friends she'd take half of everything. She forgot who wrote the prenup. Here's how it ended. The cruelest thing about being betrayed by someone you love isn't the betrayal itself. It's the contempt that comes with it. The moment you realize the person you trusted didn't just hurt you, they think you're stupid, that you'll never see it coming, and even if you do, you're too soft to do anything about it. My wife, I'll call her Dana, made that mistake. She cheated. And then, certain I was oblivious, she started bragging to her friends about how she was going to leave me and take half of everything. What Dana forgot, in all her confidence, was a single piece of paper she'd signed years earlier without reading closely. And what she never once considered was that the quiet, easygoing husband she'd decided to discard had been calmly documenting everything for months. This is the story of how Dana planned the perfect divorce, bragged about the payday, and walked away with almost nothing. Settle in. This one is a slow, cold burn. Let me give you the background, because the background is the whole game. Before Dana and I got married, I already owned a small business. I'd built it from nothing over years of long nights. It was mine, free and clear, before she ever came into the picture. When we got engaged, my lawyer, and, honestly, my own common sense, suggested a prenuptial agreement to protect the business I'd built before the marriage. Dana agreed to it without much fuss. She signed it. We both did. And then, like most couples, we put it in a drawer and forgot it existed. For years, it was just a piece of paper. Neither of us thought about it again. Dana should have thought about it. For a long time, we were happy. Or I thought we were. The business did well, we bought a nice house, life was comfortable. Then, somewhere in our 7th year, Dana changed. Working late, new phone passcode, a sudden intense interest in the gym and in being unreachable for hours at a time. Defensive about questions she used to laugh off. You know the pattern. Anyone who's lived it knows the pattern. I didn't explode. I didn't accuse. That's not who I am, and more importantly, it's not what was going to help me. Instead, I did the thing I always do when something feels wrong. I got very calm, and I started paying attention. I'm not going to walk you through how I confirmed it. That part's not the point, and it's not pleasant. What matters is that within a few weeks, I knew, with certainty, that Dana was having an affair. I knew who. And I knew it had been going on for a while. Now, here's the moment that decides these stories. The moment you find out. Most people, in that moment, confront. They scream, they cry, they throw the evidence on the table and demand answers. And I understand that completely. But I want you to understand what confrontation actually does. It tells the other person exactly what you know, and it gives them time to prepare. I wasn't going to give Dana time to prepare. Dana was going to give it to me. So I said nothing. I went to work every day, came home, made dinner, and acted like the same easygoing husband Dana had decided was too dull to stay faithful to. And while I did that, I quietly built a complete picture of our finances. Every account, every statement, every credit card. And here's where Dana's contempt started to cost her, because she got sloppy. Confident people get sloppy. I found that Dana had been spending marital money, our money, on the affair. Hotels, dinners, a weekend trip she'd told me was for work, gifts, thousands of dollars over months of shared marital funds spent on the person she was cheating with. I didn't get angry. I made copies. Because in a lot of states, that spending has a name, and the name is dissipation of marital assets, and courts do not look kindly on it. While I was at it, I did one more thing. I quietly went and met with a good divorce attorney. Not to file, just to understand the board before any pieces moved. I brought 2 things, the prenup and the financial documentation. My lawyer read the prenup, and then she looked up at me and said something I'll never forget. She said, "Do you understand how strong this is?" I did not, fully. So she explained it. The business I'd built before the marriage, the single most valuable thing we had, was, under that prenup Dana had signed and forgotten, entirely separate property. It wasn't on the table at all. The thing Dana was picturing when she bragged about taking half the business, did not exist. She had no claim to it, none. And the marital assets that actually were on the table, those were now tangled up with the fact that Dana had spent thousands of dollars of them on her affair, money a court could order her to account for and effectively pay back out of her share. The woman who was telling her friends she'd take half of everything was, in legal reality, entitled to far, far less than she imagined, and what she was entitled to, she'd been actively spending down on the very affair that ended the marriage. But I still didn't move, because I wanted one more thing. I wanted Dana to commit, fully, on the record. See, as long as Dana thought I was clueless, she'd keep being sloppy. She'd keep spending. She'd keep documenting her own behavior far better than I ever could. So I waited, and I let her keep building my case for me. And she did. The spending continued. The lies got bolder. At one point, she even floated the idea, casually, of us maybe needing to talk about the future, testing the water for the divorce she was planning, fishing to see how soft a target I'd be. I played soft. I played hurt and confused and conflict avoidant, exactly the man she expected. And the whole time, the folder on my desk got thicker. When I finally moved, I moved all at once. I didn't confront her in the kitchen. I let my attorney do the talking. Dana was served with divorce papers, professional, precise, and built on a foundation she didn't know existed. And I will tell you, the thing that broke Dana's confidence wasn't the divorce itself. She'd been expecting that. She'd been planning it. It was the prenup. The moment her lawyer explained that the business was untouchable separate property, the entire fantasy she'd built, the one where she walked away with half of everything I'd ever made, collapsed. And then came the part she really hadn't planned for, my documentation of the dissipation. The thousands in marital funds spent on the affair, laid out, dated, sourced. Her own bragging and her own sloppiness turned into exhibits. Suddenly Dana wasn't the one making demands. She was the one explaining. Explaining why our shared money had paid for hotel rooms and weekend trips. There's no good explanation for that in front of a judge, and her lawyer knew it. The negotiation that followed was short. Faced with an airtight prenup protecting the bulk of the estate and a documented trail of her spending marital assets on the affair, Dana's half of everything became a fraction of a much smaller pie, reduced further by the money she'd already spent and would effectively have to account for. She kept her own car, her own personal accounts, a modest share of the genuinely marital assets, minus what she'd dissipated. And that was it. The business was mine, as it always had been. The house, which was tied to the business financing, stayed with me. The comfortable life she thought she was going to take half of largely walked out the door with me, not her. Here's the part that still gets me, though. The affair partner, the great love she'd been spending our money on, the future she was so sure about. Once the divorce was final and the money she'd promised never materialized, that relationship evaporated within months. Turns out the version of Dana that came with half my assets was a lot more appealing than the version that came with a car and a pile of legal bills. I'm not going to pretend any of this felt triumphant in the moment. Betrayal doesn't work that way. For a long time, it just hurt. But there's a particular quiet satisfaction in watching someone's contempt for you become the exact thing that undoes them. Dana looked at a calm, trusting, easygoing man and saw a mark, someone to use and discard and profit from. She was so certain I'd never see it coming, and so certain that even if I did, I was too soft to do anything but absorb it. She was wrong on every single count, and the paper that proved it had been sitting in a drawer the entire time, signed in her own hand. So here's the lesson, and it's the same one every time on this channel. The people who betray you are betting on your softness. They're counting on you to react with emotion instead of strategy, to confront instead of document, to explode instead of prepare. Their entire plan depends on you being exactly as predictable as they think you are. But every so often, they betray the wrong quiet one, the one who keeps the receipts, the one who reads the paper they forgot they signed, the one who lets you keep talking, keep spending, keep building the case, and then moves all at once. If you've ever been on either side of a story like this, you already understand it. Protect what's yours before you need to. Get it in writing. And never, ever mistake someone's calm for weakness. If this one landed, subscribe. There's a new story like this every week. And tell me in the comments, should I have let her keep anything at all? I genuinely want to know where you land. I'll see you in the next one.